Okay, so the topic which Priya gave me, or we discussed and decided, was like how to keep evolving your design process to not get outdated. So I think any process is always evaluating, right? So design process is always like in an evolution phase. It's a continuous journey, not a destination. I would like to start my presentation with this quote, because like process is something which makes you achieve things faster, but it's not like that you cannot alter or you cannot tailor the process. It's always for benefiting you. So it's up to you whether what kind of a process you want to follow. Let me go to next slide. Yeah, so I would say there are two kind of processes here, where what we focus is on the design side. So one is the internal process versus one is the cross-functional process. So internal process is like more or less what we always discuss about the double diamond approaches, lean methodology, and different kind of processes, which I would say is more of a repackaging of the same stuff. Because what, like is as I said earlier, it always helps you to achieve things faster in a more structured way, right? So, and also when I say that we never in a practical manner, we never discuss our features around, or our processes around, like whether we are in a diverging phase or in a converging phase and this that. So we always I would like to give an analogy around here. So see, fixing is a core base of this, right? So if you are a doctor, you need to understand the problem what your patient is facing. You need to investigate it further with the different kind of lab tests, and once you get the report, you prescribe some medications to the user, or sorry, to the patient, and then they take the medicine and they get treated. So similar way, like in your UX journey or in any other fixing journey, you always follow some process to understand by research what the problem is all about. So that is a discovery phase. Then defining, so what exactly I define, like okay, that's a report thing. So what I defined after the discovery phase, what I defined as a problem statement, or my how I understand my user base or my cohort or my business very properly through contextual inquiry and so on and so forth. And then how what I actually design, that comes in a parallel to what I treat my users for, and then medication comes as a my final treatment taken by the patient. So all these things are like the processes of fixing, right? So UX is also about understanding your user well, understanding your business well. So it's user UX is like I would say product design, not the UX design, because in product design is very important, where you also understand the UX and all your users, and also understand your business, and then you are bridging them together so that you get this sweet spot where both of them are winning, right? It's not like you always think about like understanding the user and making them win, but you don't feel the pain from the business side, or you don't feel the opportunity what they want to achieve as a goal. So we need to make a sweet balance between these two. So yeah, so most of the time we discuss the internal design process, but we don't discuss the cross-functional process of the design. So today I would focus more rather on the design cross-functional process. And whatever I have included in my slides is all practical changes what I have brought in my process in my organizations, and even in the current organization. So there is nothing chat GPT. So I can actually very well vouch it for, so that because what, like we have thought about all these changes, we have brought all of them in the process, and we have tested them, and then we are successfully actually leveraging whatever changes we have brought in. So I'll talk about the practical changes what we actually realized in our processes today. So first is like revised motto. We have revised our motto from minimum viable or product, or MVP, to MLP, which is a minimum lovable product. We are focusing not only the bare minimum functionality to reach to the market faster, and we analyze that whether our users are actually behaving, or they are using the functionality the way it was supposed to be. But we are also testing the lovability of it, like whether they are actually loving the product or not, the minimum product what we have launched. So we are actually analyzing the data around that. We tested on that aspect as well. So when we are actually delivering the minimum functionality, we also focus on the delightful user experience, so that whether user actually uses the product, whether they are actually enjoying the product or not, or we are building the loyalty so that they want to come back, or are they asking for the further more features around that or not. So that is something which makes ourselves understand that, okay, this is something what our user really want. It's not just exactly what business want, but what user also want. We are focusing on that as well. And it also creates a like positive brand image around the market. So we always focusing on making it more lovable as a product. Then design needs a seat on the table. So most of the time in my 80% of, or I would say 90% of my career, I have seen that design is always under or nested in a product or a technological group. So they are always like listening what product is giving you as a requirement, right? Or when technical constraints come in the picture, so we always need to adhere what actually technical team or the product team is talking about, right? So we don't have much freedom in exploring the user centricity. So what we have done in our current organization, we have made it as a parallel. So instead of product and technology, we have product design and technology, three parallel groups together. So so whatever product requirements are coming, we will always have a like seat on the table. I would say we always have a flexibility, or we always are allowed to raise questions and then shape the product requirement as we want, as we think that, okay, user may want in a particular fashion. So we always come back to the product and we ask for the changes, and we do all those changes. So as few of the things which we focus is while PDT is the freedom and advocacy, so that you always come up with what your user wants. It's not always about based on the data. It's always about based on how or what your user wants from it. And we also come up with a collaborative work culture, so that it's not just about listening to the product what they are saying, but we also have voices, and these voices are always being heard and listened by the different teams, because we are not under them, we are parallel to them, so they need to listen to the design folks as well. So that is what I have covered in design needs a seat on the table. So this is what we have already done in our organization. So revised structure. So if I give you an example though, so we have B2B and B2C, two different domains. So B2B is always concerned about what our recruiter wants, right? So for example, if I give you an example, so the recruiter wants job seekers, right? So job seekers want recruiter jobs from the highest paying recruiters. So, but the designers who are working in these two paradigms they are working in the isolation. So people who are working on a recruiter side, they don't even have a visibility what your B2C designer teams are working on, right? So for example, like when seeker is creating a profile, so what exact details they want, so that your recruiter also get enticed by. So when if I am a recruiter, I search in the platform that, okay, I want maybe a Python candidate or a UX candidate. So all different kind of a result comes up in my search result page. So right. So but on that front also, I may have study what we have done with our recruiters. So most of the time they are only interested with like top 10 kind of a requirement, top 10 kind of a information pieces in maybe like out of 50 pieces what we ask, or the information pieces what we ask from the seekers. So we need to understand what exactly a recruiter wants to actually gauge whether this candidate is suitable for their requirement or not. So that understanding, we need to tell the seeker also, okay, that recruiters are more interested in these 10 information pieces, and other 40 are just to support your candidature. So that's the way. So we have made a pod structure where a single design team is working on a different functionality. So for example, if a designer is working on a registration and on a profile, so same designer will also work on the B2B side, where your recruiter will see those profiles of seekers, so that they know what needs to be feed in, so that it need to be what it need to be resulted in. So both the sides, they are actually balancing out. So they know what exactly your third party wants, right? So expansion of user base is one of the key aspect in here. So they don't just need to obey what your users like job seeker persona asks for, but they also understand what your recruiter persona asks for, and they need to balance them together. User habits are more important. So for when I was with HCL, I worked with a very major client. So where the internal system which we were redesigning. So it was from a user experience point of view, it was in a very bad shape. Though even their scroll bars were on the left hand side, they had so many buttons on the screen. It was too cluttered, this and that. Like so, we have interviewed so many users there. We have interviewed like it was I was in Cape Town to make the ethnography for this particular feature. So we have tested, we have recorded a lot of sessions. Then we come up with a solution that let's change it altogether, because there was a lot of potential to change it and make it more user friendly or user centric. So we have made every possible thing which was in favor of user experience, but then it was a failure, right? Because like user were habitual to use the earlier product, though it wasn't user friendly, but they were habitual to use that. So change management is the key here. So when you are actually proposing something which is even very user friendly, very user, you have best usability or accessibility around that, but still when you are actually touching the market or touching the road, it need to be in a gradual fashion. So if you if you make a product which is very user friendly, but you give them in a one shot, so they may come up with something which they have not expected. So there were clerks which were working in since last 10 years when I was conducting research with them. So they were around 10 20 buttons on the screen. When I asked them what exactly you do in this screen, so they said I always click on these two buttons. And when I asked that what other buttons does, so they say that they don't even know, and then they are always scared that what will happen if they click on that. So they, in fact, the predictability on the button labels wasn't there, so they don't know what will happen, right? So those kind of issues which we gauged, and we actually come up with a better solution. But yeah, change management was something which actually make them or make us understand that okay, giving everything in a one shot is not the best idea. Okay, the next one is let users spend more time on what they want instead of what your business wants. So like I've seen a lot of different examples where business always shout about what exactly features they have, and but they don't concerned about what exactly their user wants. So they always try to sell something every now and then. So it's like the best example which I can think about, the mobile phones, right? So it's always like feature heavy. You always have plenty of different feature. You always think about the like when you're buying a phone, you always like do some study like whether your iOS works better, your Android works better, your Pixel thing or your Android whatever. But like in a daily life, you always use them not more than 4 to 5 features, right? So we need to understand what exactly my user wants, and whether whether we are actually serving them those 3 to 4 features the way they want to use them or not. So I would say coming to a site or opening an app is a friction. So they always have some design in mind, what they want to achieve out of your application. So we always think that we need to make application like this or like that, but that is always a friction. So nobody wants to use laptop, nobody wants to use mobile phone, but they want to achieve something. They want to actually please their one of the desire. That's the reason why they need to use a particular application. So we need to understand what exactly few of the purposes why user is actually surfing your particular page. And if see the core of my entire career understanding is whether you understand few of the initial desires of the user. Maybe list down on every screen, you just list down 2 to 3 reasons why your user is landing on this page, and whether you are fulfilling those requirements or those 2 to 3 desires, like as soon as they land on the page. So if they are searching how to fill in those, how to use that particular feature, how to get that value out of your screen, then your design is not good enough. So it need to be very frictionless. It need to be on the face of the user, that okay, this is what you want and this is how I'm trying to serve you. So it's here. They don't need to find it. So that's something what we need to understand, and let them spend time on exactly what they want instead of what we want them to spend their time on. Yeah, that's all about it. Thanks a lot.
You mean over here we need to capture what is the lovable quotient and bring that out. So in case of your example, coffee. So
Yeah.
not just giving a coffee, उसको चाहिए coffee दे रही है, but what will be that lovable quotient that the that the person will really love, right? And capturing that.
Exactly, whether they were treated well, where the atmosphere was the way they wanted to. So maybe there can be 10 different coffee shops, but you may want to go to one or two most of the time. Why? If we understand, you need to understand why you are always going to a particular shop, not the remaining nine, right? So there's something. So coffee is like coffee, right? So taste can be one of the things, which is a feature requirement, but the atmosphere, the aura of that place, or maybe the gentry which is coming to that place, everything comes as an experience, right? So that experience you get, we need to
Yeah,
understand
so
that.
there was this thing that Starbucks, when your name is being shouted upon, people love that. I think
Exactly.
a lot of
Incorrect.
people see their name being written on that, so they take selfies with
Exactly.
that.
That is what. So your requirement can never talk about that. Okay, your name can need to be different, so that when they talk about your name or they call it out, so that becomes like an experience, right? So that you need to understand from a user experience point of view. So your
Got it.
product will never talk about that.
I had one question with regards to like the whole process creation a bit as well. So I want to know that while you creating processes, there's a certain like you take some time, you learn from everything that you've done in the past, and you create a process. But
Yeah.
then after a certain, there's comfort that comes from your process. That that we've been doing this in the past and this works and we keep doing this, and you sort of it's like you mentioned about the application, the old version of the application, which is bad UX, but
Yeah.
people have gotten so comfortable and used to that that they don't want something new which is better, and it's difficult to push that in. So similarly, it comes in with, I've observed, it comes in with processes also, that even if
Yeah.
some process is not good, we've gotten so comfortable with it that we don't really want to change. So have you ever experienced that, and how do you break out from that?
Yeah, so I would like to correct your question a bit. So it's not like user don't want change. They don't want a better product, right? Or we don't want come up with the problems what we are actually suffering from. So we always want, but not in a one shot, right? So gradually we need to introduce the solution what we are up to, and then we need to understand whether how they are receiving these new features are, right? So we need to actually categorize them, that okay, what are the top few features which we want to bring, give them the taste of, and then when they are start loving it, then we gradually give them the. So your change management is something what we need to actually phase out. So it's not, they don't want solution of their problems, but not exactly in a one shot, I would say.
Fine.
Yeah.
I have two questions, Alok. So just correct me if I'm wrong, in a product company, do you feel that sometimes design gets a little bit compromised due to the business data and application from the tech side? That's one. Second, when a new team member joins in a team, right, in a product company, so how, out of curiosity, I'm asking how that transition or the download is usually been given. So what I mean by that, is it like, let's say if a A is joining in the team, and if A will be working with the search function of the product, so is it like, let's say, let's give all the download or the past work that has been done only for that, or like what's the process, how that, because for that first day that it might be a little bit overwhelming for that team member, right? So how that transition or the download usually happens for a new person who joins the team?
Okay, Swami. So it's a very good question. So I would like to answer one by one. So second question first. So when somebody joining as a fresh in your team, so give them download, but not exactly give them the the blockers, right? So we always understand, okay, that particular PM is not working great with me, or they always very resilient about something new when we come up with. So right, so don't give them those blockers as in mind. So just tell them about the problem, what need to be solved, the way how we have solved it. So I always experienced it that whenever somebody new joins in, so they always comes up with the better ideas. So because they look at your product from a fresh perspective, they look at from a different way, because the way you have solved it because of certain reasons and constraints, right? So they are not known to those constraints. So they will come up with like the way I explained that we need to embrace the innovation quotient also in our design team. The similar way, they are coming very charged, right? They don't know about the constraint. They want to give you a better solution around. So they are coming as innovating members of your team. So just give them the download of the problem statement. Tell them that why you have solved in a certain way, but don't give them the constraints, so that they can come up their own fresh ideas.